Today, the topic of our discussion is how degrees of adjectives are used. First, we will like to tell you about the three types of degrees and how these degrees are formed and what are the various rules generally followed and how these degrees are used in framing sentences. So, there are three degrees: positive, comparative, and superlative of different adjectives, but there are different rules for forming these comparative and superlative degrees. In certain cases, we use ER and EST to form comparative and superlative degrees. This is the case generally when the words are one monosyllabic, that is, short words. For instance, tall, taller, and tallest. Big, bigger, and biggest. There are certain words which have two syllables and their comparative and superlative degrees can be framed in two ways. They can be formed by using more and most and can also be formed by using ER or EST. For instance, clever, it is a two-syllabic word, clever. And in this case, we can form the comparative degree by using ER also and EST, cleverest. But this comparative degree can also be formed by using more clever, and more clever, most clever. Sometimes we commit the mistake of using both more and ER. That is not admissible. We cannot say he is more cleverer than his brother. Either we will use more or we will use cleverer. So they cannot be combined together. We cannot use ER and more simultaneously. Then it becomes the double use, and that is not acceptable grammatically. And there are the simpler, simplest. And big words containing more than two syllables, three or four syllables. In their cases, we generally use more and most to make comparative and superlative degrees. For instance, handsome, more handsome, and most handsome. Beautiful, more beautiful, and most beautiful. Wonderful, more wonderful, most wonderful. So in this way, but there are certain adjectives where neither of these two rule applies. Their second comparative and superlative degrees are altogether different from the original positive degree. For instance, good, better, best. Bad, worse, worst. Much more, most. It is generally said that positive degree is used when there is no comparison, And when there is comparison between two persons, then comparative degree is used. And when there is comparison between more than three persons, comparison between three or more persons, then superlative degrees are used. But this is partly true. It depends upon the construction of the sentence. We can use even positive degree for making comparison between more than three persons. We can use comparative degree for making more than a comparison between more than three persons. It depends upon how the sentence is framed. This is what we are going to learn today, though the positive degree means when there is no comparison. But when we transform the sentence in such a way that even by using positive or comparative degree, any kind of comparison is possible. For instance, he is more intelligent than his friend. Now we are required to change this comparative degree into positive degree without changing the meaning of the sentence. So we are to make changes in such a way that the meaning should remain the same, only there should be change in the use of degree. So this very meaning can be conveyed by using positive degree if we make the following changes. His friend, this should be placed first. Is not so intelligent as he is. This sentence and the sentence given above have the same meaning. But in the sentence we have used positive degree to make comparison between he and his friend. So in this way, by changing or transforming the sentence, we can use even the positive degree to make comparison. Another instance of this type, he is not so handsome as his brother is. Here we have used is not so handsome as his brother is. Here we have used positive degree. But we are to change the sentence by using comparative degree without changing the meaning. So what changes have to be made in order to use comparative degree of handsome. So we will say his brother is more handsome than he is. His brother is more handsome than he is. So in this way, we have used comparative degree and the meaning of these two sentences remains the same. Similarly, we can say in sentence we are given she is more talkative than her brother. Now more talkative is comparative degree and we are to transform this comparative degree into positive degree. So we have to bear in mind that the subject given towards the end of the sentence is brought at the first position. We will say her mother is not so talkative, as she is. Another instance, he is more honest than his father. Now more honest is comparative degree, and we are to change this comparative degree into positive degree. So how we will change? His father is not so honest as he is. His father is not Until now, we have simply discussed the change between positive and comparative degree. If there is superlative degree, how that superlative degree can be changed into comparative and positive degree, this is also to be learned in this topic. For instance, he is the wisest man in our village. India is the most populous country in the world. Ram is the most popular leader in Haryana. Ram is one of the most popular leader in Haryana. Ram is not one of the most popular leader in Haryana. She is the brightest student in our class. She is one of the brightest student in our class. She is not one of the brightest student in our class. Now, from superlative degree wisest, we are to change the sentence using comparative degree and positive degree. What changes will have to be made? They have to be carefully kept in mind. Only then can such changes be made. For instance, if we are to change, he is the wisest man in our village, so we can use comparative degree wiser by saying he is wiser than any other man in our village. So we have used this comparative degree, then and thereafter any other word have to be used. Only then can this convey the meaning of being the wisest person. Otherwise, any other is used in order to show that he is the wisest man. And if we are to use positive degree to convey the same meaning, then the following changes will have to be made. No other man in the village is so wise as he is. No other man in the village is so wise as he is. So this rule has to be kept. When the positive degree is to be used, we will use no other man in the beginning. Then the same sense can be retained in the sentence. So similarly, the next sentence is India is the most populous country in the world. The same very formula will have to be applied here also. We will use more populous than any other country in the world, and no other country in the world is so populous as India is. So for using comparative degree, we will transform this sentence in the way India is more populous than any other country in the world. And for using positive degree, we will say no other country in the world is so populous as India is. So we can see that even by using positive degree, we are making comparison among all the nations. So this statement that positive degree is used when no comparison is made, that is partially true only, partly true only, not fully true. So in the same manner, this sentence, Ram is the most popular leader in Haryana, is also to be transformed following the above given pattern. We are to say when we are to use comparative degree, Ram is more popular than any other leader in Haryana. And when we are to use the positive degree, we are to say no other leader in Haryana is so popular as Ram is. But the next sentence is slightly different from the above. Ram is one of the most popular leader in Haryana. In this sentence, one of shows that there is a difference in the meaning of the above sentence and this one. One of means there are some other leaders also as popular as Ram is. So in order to retain this sentence, sense of one of, we cannot use than any other. We will have to use most other. And we cannot say no other leader. Rather, we will say very few leaders are so popular as Ram is. So now let us see this change. Ram is more popular than any other, than most other leaders in Haryana. And when we are to use positive degree, we will say very few leaders are as popular, very few leaders, very few, some leaders it would be better. Some leaders are as popular as Ram is. Some leaders are as popular as Ram is. Ram is not one of the most popular leaders in Haryana. Now we have to convert the sentence using comparative degree. So we have to follow this rule. Some leaders are more popular than Ram in Haryana. Then Ram is in Haryana. This is the use of comparative degree to convey the above sense. If we are to convey the above sense by using positive degree, the following changes will have to be made. Some leaders, Ram is not so popular a leader in Haryana. In Haryana, as some other leaders. Ram is not so popular a leader in Haryana as some other leaders. So in this way, we have to remain vigilant while using these degrees, but the same meaning can be conveyed in place of by using comparative and positive degree in place of superlative degree, though some changes have to be made. So in case some practice is done about these sentences, then it could be a useful knowledge while framing sentences. Sometimes when we use degrees, we make certain mistakes. They should also be borne in mind. For instance, sometimes we say, he is more taller than his father. When we make comparative degree, either we use more or er. We cannot use both together. If there are certain words where more is required, then er is not to be used. And in case of small words, if er is required, then more cannot be used. If we say he is more taller than his father, this is a wrong sentence. We must say he is taller than his father. Similarly, handsome is a big word and its comparative degree is more handsome. When we have used more, then er is not required. So the use of er is wrong, which must be deleted. The correct sentence is, he is more handsome than his father. Similarly, there are certain words where we don't use then while making comparison. So what are those adjectives where then is not to be used? For instance, junior, senior, inferior, superior, preferable. Generally, where the word ends in IOR, in such cases we don't use then, nor do we use more, most before them. If we frame the sentence, he is more junior than I, it is grammatically wrong. The correct sentence would be, he is junior to me. Here we use to rather than the use of then. He is junior to me. We don't use more or most before these words. Neither do we use then. In place of them, we use to. And to is always followed by objective form. We never say to I. We always say to me. Similarly, this cloth is inferior than that. Is more inferior than that. This is also a wrong sentence. We have to say this cloth is inferior, then we can't use then, we will have to use to in order to make it a correct sentence. Similarly, health is more preferable than wealth. Health is more preferable than wealth. So in this sentence also neither can we use more nor can we use than. We can simply say health is preferable to wealth. So this is the correct sentence. Similarly, sometimes though before comparative degree we don't use the. The generally used before the superlative degree. But there are certain cases where these used before the comparative degree also, when two actions they happen almost simultaneously. For instance, if we say higher we go, cooler it is. More you work, more marks you will get. More I read, more confused I feel. These are two simultaneous activities, higher and cooling. In such cases, when we use comparative degree, we have to use the before comparative degree. The correct sentence would be the higher we go, the cooler it is. Similarly, the more you work, the more marks you will get. The more I read, the more confused I feel. Earlier better. So these are two comparative degrees. The earlier, the better. So in this way, sometimes the has to be used before comparative degree, though in most of the cases, these used before superlative degree. Similarly, sometimes when we have to say something of the two persons, then we don't use then, we say of these two students, of Ram and Shyam, the latter is richer. So of Ram and Shyam, दो में से जब हम ये बताते हैं कि कौन सा ज़्यादा मतलब कंपैरिजन करते हैं, So then we in this sorry the first is more intelligent. So in this way, we have made comparison without using the. Similarly, if there were of these four girls, the first is the most intelligent. If there are more than two, then we will use superlatively. The first is the most intelligent. There are some other adjectives which don't have positive or comparative degree. They are called non-gradable adjectives and they never have any comparative or superlative degrees. So some examples of non-gradable adjectives are ideal, unique, perfect, right, wrong, true, sure, certain, tired, exhausted. We don't say more ideal, most ideal, more unique, most unique, more perfect, most perfect, yeah, more right, yeah, more wrong. All these are don't have any comparative and superlative degree. So we should make distinction between gradable and non-gradable adjectives. Gradable adjectives have their comparative degree and superlative degree, but non-gradable degrees have no comparative and superlative degree. We can have a variety in forming sentences if we learn this art of transforming sentences without changing meaning. So this is a useful exercise. Since we cannot always say he is the best student, we can also express this very idea by saying he is better than any other student. And no other student is so good as he is. So in this way, if we know this art of transforming sentences, we can usher in an element of variety in our language, which is always useful and desirable. So if you find this video useful, informative, knowledgeable, I would request you to subscribe to it, like it, and share it with others so that I may feel inclined to make more such videos. Thanks.